Uh, my name is Omo Nyame for all those that wanna know. Got a YouTube Snap and Insta that I named the Omo Show, where I clearly spit the flow, show you around the life I chose. So add me if you wanna see how far the story goes. Peace, my beautiful family. Welcome to the Omo Show. I'm Omo, the Afrocentric creatress, here to raise the vibrations of the entire Black nation. And today is Real Talk Tuesday, so I thought it would be a perfect time for me to talk about my thoughts on Black Greek life, the NPHC, which is the National Panhellenic Council, for those who don't know, and that kind of thing, given that this seems to be a taboo topic within the Greek community, but also our community in general. People feel like it's something that's supposed to be very, very secretive. I'm not going to be revealing a lot of information as far as secrets, quote unquote, but I am going to give those who are in college, those who are about to go to college, or those who are not in college anymore and just are interested in a topic, some ideas as to what the pros, the cons, and what I believe about Black Greek life. Given that I am Greek, I'm not going to talk about my organization because I honestly don't want you to feel like this is a message that they're agreeing with or that I'm saying this on behalf of us or anything like that. If you know what org I'm a part of, that's great. If you don't, well, I'm not going to mention it here. I might mention it in some other video. I'm not sure. So anyway, let's just get into it. Some of the pros about being Greek, and I have a few notes down here just because I didn't want to miss anything. I have 4 main pros, and this is not my whole list, of course, y'all. I just want you to know that I'm just really simplifying this information just so that I can get the main points, you know, understood and taken in. So, the number one thing, or the first thing that I would say is a pro about Greek life, is that it really did build my resume. Like, while I was in my chapter or active in my chapter when I was in college, I really learned how to plan events. I learned how to do budgets. I learned how to make proposals. I learned how to pretty much do anything that is business oriented. I learned how to do, you know, all types of organizing and stuff like that just by having experience in the organization. And that's something that I can still put on my resume today as a part of my experience. My chapter is a really small chapter. So with that, everybody has some type of leadership position versus, like, you know, white Greeks who have like 100, 200 plus members, and not everybody has a position within my organization. We always stayed under like 13, so everybody pretty much had a position within the org. And that's also something that you can put on your resume as your leadership qualities or your leadership experience, if you understand what I'm saying. I got a lot of time public speaking in the event, so that's something that I talked about or that I put on my resume. I had a lot of time performing in the event, as far as like theater is concerned, doing step shows, that kind of thing. That's something I get to put on my resume, especially my performance resume, given that I'm now pursuing my artistic endeavors. Being Greek, saying that I know how to step, that I know how to dance or makeup, choreography, and different things like that has been very beneficial. Second thing would be that it's a character builder. For me, this is one of the biggest things that I really hold on to within Greek life, outside of my relationships. But character was built throughout the process, and also actually just being inside the organization. Like, there were certain things that everybody within my org who came through my chapter, we all learned the same history. We all had the same kind of knowledge. So there were certain points of character that we were all meant to have, if that makes any sense. I'm just gonna give you an example. One thing that Greeks say a lot is like, what are excuses? Like, you know, when they hear somebody saying excuses, they'll be like, what are excuses? And every Greek or every Black Greek organization has their own version, and every chapter even has their own version of how they spit or how they say what excuses are. And for us, we would say excuses are the tools for the weak and incompetent. They build bridges to nowhere and monuments of nothing, and those who use them will never ever and I say make it in life, because it's something that's applicable while while you're active in your chapter, but also applicable when you leave your chapter. Excuses is probably one of my favorite pieces. And also do is something that is like do or don't do. There is no try. You know, to learn those things and to have to live by those things in the everyday basis can be difficult at first, but now they just become so much a part of me that I know for a fact that if it wasn't for me joining my Greek organization, I wouldn't have the character that it is that I have now. I wouldn't have the drive, the fire, none of what I have right now, and how I act on what I act on. I wouldn't have it if it wasn't for my experience coming through my organization, if that makes sense. One of my favorite piece of history, which is something that every Greek pretty much knows, every black Greek pretty much knows. It's a poem called Invictus, and the poem, and I actually have, not on this arm, but on this arm, me and my line sisters, we actually have okay, I received a phone call, my bad, y'all. So like I was saying, me and my LSs, we got the last 2 lines of the Invictus poem tattooed on us all together as a line, which I love. I only have 4. It's only 4 of us, 3 line sisters, and it's 4 of us all together. But anyway, I'm just gonna spit that poem for y'all right quick, or at least the way we spit it. Out of the night that covers us, black as the pit from pole to pole, we thank whatever gods may be for our unconquerable souls. In the fell clutch of circumstance, we have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, our heads are bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find us unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. We are the masters of our fate. We are the captains of our soul, you know. So that's why I got we are the captains of our soul, you know. That poem, and to this day, gives me freaking shivers. Like, it means so much in life, you know, just to never allow anything to break you down. Don't let anything break you down. You're always going to be the master of your fate, the captain of your soul. You know, you have the power to make it through, and you have the power to stand up with your head strong, you know, no matter how bloody you are, you know. So at the end of the day, that poem really meant a lot to me and my LSs, and that's why we got it tattooed on us. So that's just another example. Last thing, or number 3, would be that Greek life is really a relationship builder. As I'm talking about me and my LSs, I know everybody doesn't have this experience with their LSs and stuff like that. LS means line sister, the people who came into the organization with you. But me and my LSs, we are really close. We are super duper close. I live with one of my LSs today. I have a nephew by one of my LSs today. We do raise our children, or that's the plan, is to raise our children as nephews and nieces of each other. We are just really close. They my best friends. I really don't have any closer people to me, because there's nobody in this world who went through an experience with me as such as that, you know, and it really bonds you for life to these people, you know, if y'all really love each other, I guess. But I do understand that not everybody, I'm not saying that everybody loves their line sisters or their line brothers or whatever the case may be. Not everybody has a very close relationship with that, you know, with them. But for me, I'm just really appreciative that Greek life introduced me to my line sisters. One of them was already my best friends before we actually became line sisters, but the other 2, I'm so happy that Greek life introduced me to them, because I would have literally never ever met them if it wasn't for Greek life. And I would tell you that they've been the blessings of my life. One of them being the one who lets me stay here with her and her family to this day, you know, and we would do anything for each other, and we just mean everything to each other. So I'm just really appreciative to have sisters like that, you know. Mainly my LSs, you know. And then the sisterhood becomes even more when it comes to everybody that's a member of your organization. You're supposed to see them all as sisters. But I will say that for me, I just have a closer relationship with my line sisters, which is why I talk heavily about that. Last thing is that I love that Greek life has so many African aspects, whether it realizes it or not. Like strolling, the history of strolling, you know. Strolling is when you dance in a line with your organization. Y'all stand in a straight line and y'all do the same exact moves or whatever the case may be. And the thing is, you're not supposed to allow anybody to break your line. Nobody is supposed to come between. If y'all are strolling, say you dancing, yeah, I'm dancing, and then somebody tries to cut in between the line that's going on, you're not supposed to allow that. There is no breaking of the line. And what I learned through my org is that that entire experience of strolling, doing the same exact move in a line, has to do with our history and slavery, how we were chained. We had chains that were shackled to our feet, but also the feet of every other African behind us and in front of us. Thus, there was no way that we could move without moving as one, because being on or being a part of a line or being in Greek life is all about moving as one. So it's like there's no move that you do that they don't do, because if it is, then it just breaks up everything. If you think about Africans being enslaved and them having shackles on their feet, and then somebody making a wrong step, everybody's gonna fall down. So you have to just be protective of your line. You have to make sure that you all don't fall. I love that stepping is so African. You know, they took the drums away from us in many different states within the U.S., given who had colonized our land. They had took the African drums away from us historically during slavery. Thus, we had to come up with a new way to make rhythms that meant something to us. And one of the ways that we did that, this was way before Greek life, was through stepping. We call it stepping today, but I'm sure it was called something else back in the day. But either way, it still has very, very African and historical significance to black people that I feel like many times we don't realize or understand. So this is when we get into our cons. My first con is that I believe that there is so much that we learn through the process of becoming Greek, through our Greek life experience, that we are unaware are actually African or are actually black things versus being Greek things. I think that many times Greeks think that they came up with something. They think that strolling is just something that they should be a part of, or they think that stepping is just something that they should do. Personally, I don't believe that. And the only reason I don't, because I once did, but the only reason I don't is because now I realize that those were actually African traditions that we brought into Greek life. You know, we brought those things into Greek life. And with that being said, I believe that all Africans should be able to be a part of and know the significance of that experience, you know, instead of it being like this separation, which is my second point as to what my con is that I feel like Greek life can create a separation between us and the rest of the black community, you know, because many Greeks that I know, at least on my yard, we all stuck within our orgs or we stuck with other Greeks, versus actually being open to having friends that weren't Greeks, or actually going to parties that weren't Greek parties, or going to events that weren't Greek events. It was just like your life becomes a Greek life instead of it being something where you're actually connecting to the people within the community. And if we are supposed to be community leaders, then why wouldn't we be connecting to the people that are actually a part of the community instead of feeling like we are superior to them, you know? Because in many ways, there are many Greeks that believe that somehow by having Greek letters, you become superior or you become more than what you were before. And I will say this, there is definitely a refinement that takes place through a Greek experience if it's done right. But at the same time, we ain't no more than our people, you know, just because we have these Greek letters on. And I feel like we really, really need to understand that. So third con would be that some Greeks, like some Greek organizations that I know, they refrain from doing social change events type, like activate. They don't allow their members to be activists within their community with their letters on. You know, that to me is kind of weird when you are a black organization and you don't want to have your members, or you don't want to be classified or held with your members when they are at a protest for black people, or when they're doing whatever they're doing within the community for social change, not wanting to be a part of that, or not wanting your Greeks to be labeled as whatever your Greek organization is. That's kind of weird. So the refrainment from us actually participating in social change, I feel like has really been something that differed from when
our orgs were first created. When our orgs were first created, many of us were so much of leaders and activists within our community. We, took place in pretty much every single movement that existed until, at some point, my theory is that we became infiltrated by others. We don't just allow ourselves within the organization anymore. Yes, Black Greek life is historically Black Greek life, but it's not only Black Greek life anymore. And by this infiltration that has been done, whether it be by other skin complexions or other races, or whether it be by other white organizations that ended up funding our orgs for whatever reason that we don't know about, because it's a lot of conspiracy around this concept around our Greek organizations being funded by white orgs or something like that, which has kept them in a place where they have to be silent, or they cannot promote certain Black rights or whatever the case may be. It can't just be Black anymore, and I don't like that. We are historically Black organizations. We should be all Black organizations, but at the end of the day, we're historically Black, and we should be able to have organizations that take the lead, or to show their face as to being actually for Black people, But right now, when you don't have people wearing their letters at social change events, you believe that there's nobody there that is Greek, and you believe that Greeks just really don't care about the social issues, which may or may not be true, But the fact that it seems that way is a problem to me, Moving forward, last reason, or the last con that I have, is that given that we are not allowed to, or that our orgs, majority of our orgs, don't make it a mission for us to have a Black message or to reach out to Black people. They don't put that in our heads. They don't say, yo, this is your community, this is who you're targeting, this is your purpose of being a Black Greek. Not doing that actually distracts us from the real social issues that exist within our community, and actually pursuing those issues as our own. Many times I see Greeks having events that are so purposeless. Like, I'm not gonna say purposeless as if they're not fun, but you doing hella stroll offs or hella dance competitions or whatever the case may be does not solve the issues within our community. Community service, just picking up trash within a white community that your school is located in, does not do anything to serve our exact community, which is the Black community. I went to school that was a predominantly white school, but many of the Black people that went to my school, they all are from the Black city that's near my school. I don't understand why more Greeks don't actually go to the city to do social organization or do community service, versus just doing it right there to say that they did it. One thing that me and my org did was we used to do volunteering at splash parties for white kids and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that that's not community service, because technically it is, but for me, I wasn't fulfilled doing that, because I knew that that wasn't the community that I was here to serve. I'm here to serve my own people. So I loved it more when we actually went out to the Black cities and fed the homeless, or when we actually did do something that just seemed meaningful, you know what I mean, instead of being distracted by other things. So now I'm not here to just talk about problems. I really have solutions, or things or things that I believe that Greek life can offer and does offer us when it comes to a greater future. And like I say, a lot of that has to do with the character points. A lot of that has to do with the relationships. A lot of that has to do with what I learned through my experience. So here are some of the things that I feel like we need to be doing moving forward. For me, I believe that the fact that there's even any type of infiltration that has been done through our orgs, or to our orgs, which it has been, given that majority of our orgs, or many of our orgs, have been here for over 100 years. Have you thought about any other Black organization that has been around for over 100 years? I can't think of any. I can't think of any that are as strong as Greek life that have been around for hundreds of years. You understand what I'm saying? Many times, whether it be Black Panther Party, whether it be, the civil rights activists or SNCC or whatever the case may be. When we organize, somehow it gets dismantled. Somehow people get involved and dismantle it. So you have to wonder why Black Greek life hasn't been dismantled. Has it not been dismantled because it has shown not to be a threat to the greater society? And that's kind of like how I feel. I feel like the fact that nobody is trying to dismantle it, it must mean because the infiltration has already happened. And given that those are my thoughts and the thoughts of others, maybe, that are in Greek life or maybe not, I believe that we need new things. We need to start fresh. We don't need to be constantly giving in to the ideas of old history or old things when we can be creating something new, given that we have new information and new ideas on how we should be moving forward. We were in a completely different time, the 1900s, the early 1900s, when these Greek organizations were established. That was a completely different time than it is 100 years later, where we're still in the same pretty much position. So it's really not about infiltrating the system anymore or taking European Greek letters and now trying to come up with your own org since they won't let you a part of their Greek orgs. Because that's really what we are based off of. We are organizations who were not, Black folks weren't allowed in white Greek organizations. Thus, they decided they're going to create their own. I have no problem with us creating our own things, given that we're not accepted in certain places. But the fact that we took European Greek letters, why couldn't we choose letters that actually represent our African heritage? I believe that at that time, it is because, like I said, we were trying to become a part of a system that wasn't meant for us. But we didn't necessarily know that then. That was during the time of Reconstruction, meaning that people really thought that they were coming into this world, they were coming to be a part of society as Black folks. But now 100 years later, we realize that there's still not that acceptance there. I'm sorry, white Greeks do not really respect Black Greeks. White people don't respect Black people, and thus we're in the same position. So why not now start fresh with something that actually relates back to your African heritage, so that the Black people that are within the organization realize what they're doing it for, how they're doing it, and why it's important, and realize who their target community is, and realize the history around that. And we need to allow it to be just a Black thing. We can't allow other people to have their hands on our history, because we need to start learning our lessons from the past. That every time we have something, we always like to give it to the others. Thus, we don't have anything for ourselves. We need at least something for ourselves. So my proposal, or my belief, is that certain things that we go through, or certain things that are a part of the process of Black Greek life, as I said, have really, really developed my character a lot. And I believe that should be a rites of passage for Black folks in general. Like I said, within my organization, we all have some type of common knowledge, common understanding around certain things, such as, excuses, doing and not trying, what our purpose is, in life, never giving up, that kind of thing. So with that, I believe that if it stopped being a Greek thing and it started being that a process was something that was more of a rites of passage when becoming a better man and becoming a better woman within this Africanist society, then it will make it so that it's way more inclusive for other Blacks and way less inclusive to other people, because it's just for us and our experiences, our rites of passage. It's an African or historic rites of passage just made for us completely, And then the last thing around that is just taking the skills that we learn within Greek life. Those who are already Greek, if they do understand my message or somehow feel what I'm saying or feel where I'm coming from, us really, really using the skills and the things that we learn within Greek life to actually better the community, to teach more people within the community, to let it be known that certain things should not just be on the hands of Greeks anymore, because it didn't start off in the hands of Greeks. Stepping did not start off in the hands of Greeks. We do not have, as Greek organizations, any rights to Stepping. Stepping is something that we could be doing within the community, building around other kids, building around other youth in general, on Stepping. People would love to do it, especially if they knew the history around it. We need to start actually just using the things that we learn within Greek life to actually make a difference within our communities. I know this message was super duper long, but I had a lot to say about, this because, Greek life had a really, really big impact on my life. It definitely took me to that next level. And now that I am where I am, it's not that I put Greek life behind me, because it's always going to be a part of me. But I feel like parts of it is that Greeks put me behind them, because my focus is not Greek anymore. My focus is Black. My focus is African. And I think that it just sucks sometimes to know that I'm shunned, or I feel shunned, from a community that once meant a lot to me and should consider themselves Black leaders. But when I actually try to do the work and I actually try to lead from the front, I'm looked at as if I'm crazy. And the only reason that is because we are not educated, nor are we actually willing to be the leaders that it is that we're supposed to be within our community, as Greeks, as Blacks, as scholars, as whatever, So anyway, I understand everybody's not going to agree with my message, and that's completely fine. We can have an open discussion on how everyone feels about Greek life. Those who are part of it, mainly, given that, those who are not, this is beneficial for you to watch. I wanted to give you this information so you know which direction to go into. If you were thinking about Greek life, maybe this will give you a clearer idea of what you're coming into. If you're going to go into Greek life, like I told my little cousin, if you're going to go into Greek life, don't let Greek life change you. You change your org. If you see that there are things that aren't going right or that could be better within your org, you change it. Don't allow them to change you to be mediocre. You change it. You set the scene. You set the tone for what you want that org to be. That's really my biggest advice to anybody that wants to be Greek. It can be whatever you want it to be, okay? All right, y'all. Peace, love, Black power all day, every day. Ain't no other way. Comment, like, subscribe, do whatever you like. Hey, but I'm finna get out of here anyway, okay? Peace.